We decided to get in touch with an organisation known as the Amateur Metal Detectors Association of Ireland, and also we've got onto the National Museum of Ireland to talk about how the law actually stands if you're using a metal detector, or even indeed if you're a farmer ploughing your field and you come across a priceless ancient artefact. What do you do? What sort of trouble could you get in? And how do you comply with the law that's out there at the moment? On the line, we've got Byrne, who's an amateur metal detector enthusiast and is with the Amateur Metal Detectors Association of Ireland. And we also have Eamonn, keeper of Irish Antiquities at the National Museum of Ireland. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Hi, Jay.
Ron, if I can start with you first. You're an amateur metal detector. How does the law apply at the moment if you want to be a metal detector in Ireland?
Well, the law is very, very clear on the use of metal detecting devices in Ireland, and in my opinion, it's quite correct. We have to be very, very careful to protect our heritage and also protect all of these things. They do belong to the Irish state, and
they're the heritage of Ireland.
Yes, absolutely. But one thing we have to be very, very clear about is that metal detecting is the detection of metal. We're not going out looking for archaeological objects. There is a chance that you can come across something like that, but metal detectors are not purposely going out looking for archaeological objects.
Looking to find a hoard and make off with it.
Yeah. Yes, I mean the odds of that actually happening. You've greater odds of winning the lotto than ever coming across anything like that.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So why do it? What's the attraction, Ron, for you and your members?
Well, Jerry, it's pretty much like any other hobby. This is a thing that people do in their spare time to relax and just get out and about. And as similar to most hobbies, people either understand the hobby or they don't. It's like fishing. Some people don't understand how anybody could sit beside a river all day.
Having a line in the water and
absolutely.
Hoping to catch
but,
a bite.
It's just one of those things. It is obviously very popular. It's popular worldwide, and humans are the same worldwide. There's certain people that just like doing certain things for enjoyment. It's a way of just chilling out, relaxing. You've got the headphones on. You can just totally relax and just walk about for the day.
And what sort of things do you find, Ron?
Oh, well, if tin cans were worth money, I'd be a millionaire. Mostly that would be it. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the actual anticipation of getting the signal and trying to figure out what you think it is, what depth you think it is at. And we would all have a kind of what we would call a finds bag. So when we dig it up, if it is a pull tab or a beer top or something like that, we just put it in our finds bag and then carry on for the rest of the day, dispose of the rubbish at the end of the day where it should have been put in the first place.
Yeah.
But mostly, like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never come across anything of any archaeological importance, and if I did, I would have reported it to the museum.
What happens? Is there an onus on you if you do find something like that to report it straight away, or what kind of trouble can you get into if you don't?
There is, yes, and I mean that's why we have the association set up, because people are going to be doing this irrespective of whether there's an association or not. So what we're trying to do is promote the ethical and responsible use of metal detectors. Now, the actual National Monuments Act itself does provide, there is a provision there for if you do come across an archaeological object or something that you suspect to be of archaeological interest, whether you're using a metal detector or not.
Or whether you're walking along or whether you're ploughing the field.
You could be walking along a ploughed field, can turn these things up. But there is a provision there that you must not remove the object unless it is necessary to keep it safe, and it must be reported to the National Museum within 96 hours of having been found.
Okay, Ron, stay on the line there. We've also got Eamonn, who's the keeper of Irish Antiquities at the National Museum of Ireland. Eamonn, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Has Ron described it fairly accurately there, that if you do find, like Michael Webb from Clonmel did back in the 1980s, if you do find something like the Derry na Fleadh chalice, what you're meant to do is you're meant to contact the National Museum immediately?
If you find an archaeological object, you're obliged to contact either the National Museum or a designated local museum. In Kerry, the County Museum is a designated museum, and reports of archaeological finds can be made to that museum. Now, just in relation to Derry na Fleadh, I think it would be important also to mention that the finders of the Derry na Fleadh material were on private land without the knowledge of the landowners, and that the monastery of Derry na Fleadh was a national monument.
Yeah, there's special protection in the law, I understand, for if you're not even allowed to look unless you're a registered archaeologist.
Well, under the present legislation, you are not allowed to be in possession of a metal detector on a national monument site. But I think one would need to be pretty naive to believe the scenario as outlined there. I have had experience over the last 30 years plus of metal detector users in Ireland, and they're not going out looking for bottle tops and tin cans. They're going out looking for objects. And in Ireland, it is illegal to use a metal detector to search for archaeological objects. Now, archaeological objects are not just objects on the scale of the Derry na Flan chalice. Archaeological the legal term archaeological object is one which has a wide meaning and may include most lost or concealed cultural objects, including common objects such as coins and objects of relatively modern date, including 20th century material. Now, the definition has been tested in the courts, and what I'm quoting back to you is the finding of the courts. So people who go out and find 17th or 18th century coins are digging up archaeological objects if they find medieval buckles. Now, I've looked at the so-called junk boxes of metal detectors.
The fine bags, as one was saying,
and they always contain archaeological objects. And for the most part, in my experience, most of the archaeological objects that have been found in Ireland through the use of metal detectors have been found on archaeological sites. Probably, more than 95% of archaeological objects found by metal detector users have been retrieved from monuments, from known monuments which are protected.
So, Eamonn, is it not a case that maybe everywhere in Ireland is an archaeological site, because you could find a coin anywhere?
Not everywhere in Ireland is an archaeological site, but the use of a metal detector anywhere in Ireland is restricted, other than through license, if you're searching for archaeological objects. And as the range of, as the definition of an archaeological object is very broad, people place themselves at risk of prosecution. We had a case of a Northern Ireland visitor who was searching on the beach at Laytown. He was apprehended by the local Gardaí and was successfully prosecuted, and his metal detector confiscated. And the Gardaí can confiscate the equipment if they find people engaged in illegal searches.
Yeah. Ron, what about that point that Eamonn's making there? Metal detecting, look, no one goes out to metal detect. He's saying just for the love of it, or just to find a bottle top, that behind it all there's a desire to find something of value.
Yeah, well, I understand as an archaeologist, I understand Eamonn's stand on that. Obviously, the ideal for an archaeologist is, it's not actually the use of the metal detector, it's the disturbing of the grounds that they're concerned with. And ideally, to have no grounds disturbed for any purpose whatsoever would be the ideal situation for an archaeologist. But that's just not reality. And like you touched on yourself, Jerry, all of Ireland, every inch of Ireland would be an archaeological site if we were to follow what Eamonn is saying there about anything you find can be an archaeological object. Just to put that in respect, I'm going to plant a fruit tree in my back garden tomorrow. Now I see a shiny object, metal object there. What do? Call Eamonn and get him to send out a team of archaeologists to dig up my garden before I dig it up. Like what he's saying is that it could possibly be an archaeological object, and if I dig it up, I'm guilty.
People find objects, and people find objects in the course of farm work or building work or whatever else, and the legislation is there to enable people to report these objects so that they can be properly investigated, and also to reward people for reporting finds. And there's another point. Like if somebody comes in with a metal detector on your land and removes objects that are of potential value, they're potentially depriving the landowner of the value of that object.
What sort of reward does the landowner get if the Derry na Flan chalice is found, or something similar is found on your land? Do you get a reward?
The biggest rewards which have been paid by the state for archaeological finds have run to 6 figures.
Really?
Yes.
So there is a reward for...
There is and the system of rewards is laid out in the legislation. And for the most part, I can tell you, people have done far better by reporting material to the National Museum and being paid a reward than they have been by trying to sell stuff through the black market.
I was just going to ask you that finally, because we're running short on time here, but I want to get this point across. I think it's important. With regards to the legislation as it stands now, do you think we're seeing metal detectors, be they from Ireland or maybe even coming in from outside Ireland, who are looking in areas, trying to find something of value? They find something silver or gold, they melt it down, they get out of the country and they sell it on, or they sell it on a black market for these artefacts internationally?
There's no doubt that the metal detecting hobby is linked to illegal markets and illegal collectors. There's no question about that.
Would it be better in that mind maybe for the government to say, look, if you are metal detecting, then if you do find something, then we'll come to some sort of arrangement to stop these things from leaving the country or going onto a black market?
No, because that's the equivalent of saying, housebreaking happens, so let's make it legal. It's a pursuit which is pursued by a tiny percentage of people. And most people in Ireland support the notion that the heritage should be protected. I mean, after all, archaeologists have been controlled by legislation since 1930. So why would the metal detecting community feel that they should be above any kind of legal restraint?
Okay.
And the restraints, the licensing system is there to ensure that the finds come into public ownership, that the information relating to where objects were found goes on to a public record, and that people are properly rewarded. The metal detecting community and their activities tries to circumvent all of that and leave the general...
Ron, final word to you, and I want you to get you to respond to that.
Okay, well, firstly, what Eamonn said about that person in Laytown having their detection equipment confiscated because they were breaking the law is a load of nonsense. I have a written letter here from the Department of Arts, Heritage and the Gaeltacht dated the 27th of March 2012 giving us permission to use our detectors specifically on beaches and other areas. So maybe Eamonn doesn't know how far ahead we are on this.
I can provide details in the court case if you like.
Pardon?
I can provide Kerry Radio with details of the court case. I'll have to go on the files, but what I'm quoting is a fact.
Yeah, okay, not to get bogged down in that, but Ron, the central point Eamonn was making there finally, Anna, because we're running short on time in this, central point he's making, look, metal detecting, by and large, he's saying that enthusiasts, they want to find something of value, and that it can be linked, in some instances, to important things leaving the country.
Yeah, well, obviously Eamonn doesn't understand the interest that people have on it, and we have 11-year-olds up to 78-year-olds in the association, and they're not criminals. And I mean, if Eamonn wants to specifically say that all our members are criminals, well then, I mean, maybe we can take some kind of a slander.
Well, no, hold on a second. No, we just want to get the point. He's just making the point that he thinks that some people are linked. He didn't say all your members are. That's what you're saying on the program. What I'm saying is, what would you like to see happen with the law with regards to you being allowed to carry on what you say is a hobby?
We are allowed to, and as I said, we do have the written letter from the Department of Arts, Heritage and the Gaeltacht, and clearly states, and as I said, this only came in on the 27th of March 2012, that as long as we do follow the guidelines that are set out in the National Monuments Act, I mean, I don't want to get into that. Eamonn actually is kind of going the wrong way about this. We want to walk in hand with those. There is currently over 130,000 monuments listed, and these areas should not be gone near with a metal detector. Now, all our members have access to the maps, and they're able to see what areas they're not allowed to go into. Also, when he said that people are going onto other people's land and removing things, nobody would ever go onto somebody's land without getting permission from them first and signing an agreement with the landowner. These are all things that the association set out, and all members that are members of the association will promote, yeah.
And that's what you promote in terms of safely doing or legally doing.
We want to protect the hobby, and we can also see Eamonn's viewpoints as well, so we want to actually just have that kind of line that nobody goes over, but then have respect for people that people do enjoy this hobby. They're not criminals.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Listen, Ron, thanks very much for talking to us and explaining that one for us. That's Ron Byrne there from the Amateur Association of Amateur Metal Detectors of Ireland, and also Eamonn Kelly, who is with the National Museum of Ireland and is the keeper of Irish antiquities at the National Museum of Ireland. Some strong views there on both sides, and as Ron was accepting there that Eamonn did not say that all metal detectors are criminals, he was just making the point that he thinks that some are linked to a situation where it can go abroad, but Ron explaining that they're trying to work with the law and it's their view and their vision to be allowed to metal detect and also to cooperate with the laws of the land that they're in. Give us your thoughts. It's an interesting area out there. Is there a tendency for it to happen? Are they looking for value? Give us a thought. 0667 123 666.